Good morning, everybody. We are here now starting the JOL Ornament of Liberation, and now we are in there are 21 chapters. So I think we are touching the chapter 5, the suffering of samsara. I guess. Within that, there are two different types of suffering: suffering of the lower realms and suffering of the higher realms. So lower realms, suffering of the hell realm, hungry ghost, animals that we touched briefly yesterday. So these, as in the precious human life, they are described, what do you call, superior capacity, mediocre capacity, inferior capacity. So this touching on the subject of the impermanence thoroughly, then it gives you a complete nature, how everything is changing. The world is changing constantly, never stops. There's nobody who can stop the changing that world in permanence. See, so we're into that state. Look at that, constantly changing. Good to bad, bad to good, happiness to suffering, suffering to happiness. So that gives us, yes, we have this, as we have some discussions, release attachment, what we're attached to. The pernicious attachment is difficult to get rid of by force. But if we have that kind of understanding of impermanence, then it gives us powerful instrument to release that pernicious attachment which was so habituated through a long time. Therefore, when you could release this grasping, fixated mind in the objects, then you feel you feel freedom. You get the free. That's what's called how to achieve freedom, you see. The impermanence. Now after that, to attach to the sum, so this to release attachment to this life, by going through those details, the impermanence, then you have to think there's something, maybe you should do something better, more productive, instead of wasting your time, for wasting your time and energy for nothing, Then would you now look at the suffering of the samsara? Today we'll touch the suffering of the human beings, but if you go through the suffering details, in one way, as I mentioned yesterday, there are some people think, so the Buddhists are so negative. Just talk about the suffering, suffering, suffering. I don't like that idea. Is this not being like or dislike? It's tied to bring about. That's why I said the JOL Ornament of Liberation is a very important newspaper. You read every news, what problems there in the world, economic problem, politics problem, and all this they will bring you all the problems of the world. And this will give you the detailed problems of the samsara. Not just what we see, but those what we don't see. Those which are beyond our capacity to see the problems will bring here in this book. No? So that's what we can do. See? So that's the... okay, now anyway, instead of going too much, just we touch the book, it's better. Okay. Now the suffering of the higher realms, page 103, at the middle of the page. The suffering of the higher realms are categorized into three types. The suffering of human beings, the suffering of demigods, and suffering of gods. So the three. The human realm here describe more details because we are the human being, so we get to know better. We should know better. So that's why, especially the suffering of birth is for us. We don't know. Some people say the child born or child in the mother's womb is so pleasant, and when you are born, so happy. Some people say that. You will see here now. First, the human realm, there are 8 different sufferings in the human realms. The entering the womb sutra says, this is a Buddha's quotation. Birth is also a suffering. 1. Old age is also a suffering. 2. Sickness is also a suffering. 3. And death is also a suffering. 4. Separating from loved ones is also a suffering. 5. Meeting those who are not dear, or say meeting the enemy, is also a suffering. 6. Not finding what we desire is suffering. 7. And the pain of the protecting what we already have is also suffering. So there's 8. These 8 sufferings are shared by all human beings, educated, uneducated, rich, poor, who has a high status or no status. Everybody shares these 8 suffering equally. That's why it's mentioned here. So that we know all human beings well, without introducing to us. Now, birth is the root of all the other sufferings. If you are not born, we will not have all the rest 7 suffering. Because the day when we are born, then we are eligible to have all the rest suffering. Make sense? Yeah, so we are ready to face those anyway, There are 4 different types of birth. Most common in birth from a mother's womb. So therefore, this is so birth from the mother's womb, birth from the egg, 2, birth from the heat and moisture, 3, and a miraculous birth, suddenly just born, like in the lotus, so forth. No, but here say now we'll discuss. Anyway, in the human realm, we all are nowadays, especially, we all have we are born with the mother. So everyone has the mother. And the explanation will be according to this. So here we'll explain. Now here, so Gampopa was a great physician. He was, in his early life, he studied medicine thoroughly. Because of that, he has this great understanding, wisdom, different types of sickness. And of course, the science of understanding of how it's conceived the child and how it remains in the mother's womb. All those details there. So he says, Buddha taught all those, but on above that, Gampopa has all those great skill, wisdom. So he's sharing to us so that we know clearly. The following suffering occurs in the intermediate state, means when you are died, after death. Then I'm sure you have read the Tibetan book of the death. All this difference, I'm sure you have heard of wrathful deities, peaceful deities, all those different things. Many different things. And so in that now, here how generally the individual goes through. See, intermediate state before conception, before the consciousness is conceived in the mother's womb. Beings in the Bhardu state possess miraculous powers. This miraculous power is not just achieved by the meditation practice. Just everyone has that, those who are there, because it doesn't have this subtle, this gross body. It's just a subtle consciousness body. Because of that. So they walk in the sky, like even though we have this we have the human life, we cannot fly, but our mind flies everywhere, isn't it? Back and forth everywhere. So since this doesn't have this gross body, 4 elements, so it can fly. Walk in the sky, and with a vision of gods, they can see. So means that the God has that kind of, in the God realm, that kind of ability to see. So they have that kind of ability. They can see the place of their birth from far away, very long distance. Some can be born on other planets, not just on this planet. There are billions of planets, galaxies, which we don't see. Now scientists, they are saying now there are many. Before they found few, isn't it? So now they are saying there are billions. So there are billions and trillions galaxies and planets. So there are some they are born to another planets, another world. From far away, by the power of karma, say by the power of karma. Far away, then by the power of karma, those individuals, 4 confusions develop. Means it doesn't mean one individual has the 4 confusions. There are 4 confusions that individual may experience differently. Some say a storm arises, a huge rain falls, darkness descends, and a fearful sound emanates, as if made by many kind of big gathering public. Should say maybe a public, This is near end of day now. In the Bhardu, there are 3 different stages. Right after the death, then in the middle, and near end, they are now going to reborn in certain place. So during that time, in the third section of the period, then those individuals may have this kind of experience. When these appears, those individuals, then one will experience 10 erroneous perception. Then they try to free from this experience. Try to run away when they had that kind of fear or rain falling, like we try to find out like a shelter like this, So when when they have this kind of experience, then those individuals can have 10 different confusion, errors. This also now is depends individual. Not everybody all this 10. Erroneous perceptions, depending on positive or negative karma. So individuals say. So when these experiences, as mentioned, this developing storm arises, huge rain falls like this, one thinks that one enters a palace. So now I want to enter into the palace so that I can be free from these. One thinks that one ascent to the higher stories of house. A house is higher, the many stories, so kind of getting into the house with its higher stories. One thinks that one climbs on a throne. One thinks that one enters a grass hut. One thinks that one enters a house of leaves. One thinks that one enters a heap of grass. One thinks that one enters a forest. One thinks that one enters a hole in a wall. One thinks that one enters a heap of straw. So these different experience, or they can perceive these things and then they follow. So when in this way one perceives according to his or her karma, one sees the future father and mother. Then from the distance they see copulating from far away and goes there. That's how it's conceived now. Those who have accumulated great merit and are to be reborn in the higher place or higher birth, to say, see a palace, a house with several stories, and so forth, and go there, and then conceived. As soon as it enter into that place, to conceive. Those who have accumulated an average amount of merit and are to be born in the mediocre way, see a grass hut. Here's a grass hut and a house of leaves like that. Sees a grass hut and so forth and go there. And those who have not accumulated merit and hold lower realms like the animal realm, Holocaust, rebirth place, will see a hole in a wall and so forth and go there. So now this is how they're approaching to the place to reborn or to conceived. When one arrives, if one is going to be born a male, if it's going to be a male, and then male, one develops attachment for the mother and aversion for the father. If one is going to be reborn as a female, then one becomes attached to the father and feels aversion for the mother. With this attachment and aversion, one's consciousness is mixed with the secretion of the father and the mother, and a child is said to be conceived. That's how it is known. So precisely described how a child is conceived. No? See? From then, the moment the child is conceived, then the child remains in the womb for 38 weeks. How many months? 9 and over a little bit. 9 and like 10 days. No, 9 months, 10 days, like this, 38 weeks, you see. Some stay 8 months, some 9 or 10 months, they're various. Others are indefinite, and some even stay for 60 years. Have you heard of that?
No.
See?
I don't know too many doctors would require an old mother.
Yes. The story is here, if you read. No. One time, a rich family in, like a Brahmin, a couple, the wife conceived a child. Maybe when she was 20, somewhere there. Then that child conceived but not born. And then after that she conceived other childs, but they are born. The first child is not born. Then when she was in the 80s, then started giving pain. That's the sign of the giving the birth. So she told her husband, now tomorrow looks like the child will be born, but that time I'll be dead. So he said, you should take me to the cemetery. So with that, lot of people, it was unprecedented news. Many went in cemetery, and Buddha also said to teach to the monks. So all the monks just follow me. I went there, and as soon as the body operated, the child was born. He's 60 years old. Gray hair, wrinkled face. And as soon as when he was born, Buddha asked, you are born as an old man? And he said, yes. So he got the name, Old Born Man. So then everybody in that area, just that, who saw that, so fascinated how this can happen. So in relation to that, Buddha told the karma. Many eons ago, how the karma is created. So there was a good teacher, very kind, good teacher. He is a disciple, very young novice monk. So then the teacher asked him to study, memorize text day after day. So after some time, the student asked, can I go outside, please? The teacher said, no, you have to stay. You study, you practice, do this. And then the teacher said, no, it's a useless. Then he teacher, after that, many times he requested. The teacher said, no. Then the novice monk was so angry. He said, now you should stay in the dark house for 6 days without any light. He was so upset, So because of that karma. So this is not just first time. This is the last time. Last is paying the karma left over. So that old man, he stayed in the house for 10 years more. After that, he renounced, means he became monk. Then when he was 75, he achieved the Arhat. So that's the story, you see. So karma is mentioned so inconceivable. Only Buddha's wisdom can explain the details. Because Buddha has the omniscient wisdom. So we have to be very careful what kind of karma we're making, See? So that's what is the story. You can read here in the book, Okay. Now the child is conceived in the mother's womb. So for the first week after a child is conceived, the embryo, the combination of the bodily organs and the consciousness experiences the inconceivable suffering of being cooked and fried in a hot kettle. At that time it is called oval shape because it looks like a curd. During the second week, the all-touching wind is named of a wind, arises from the mother's womb. When it touches the embryo, the four elements manifest, means the all four elements become more stronger. The earth element, the wind, so forth. At that time, it's called the oblong shape because it looks like hard yogurt or butter. In the third week, activating wind is another name of the wind, arises in the mother's womb. When that reaches the embryo, the four elements are more strongly manifest. I think instead of strongly, more firmly. F-I-R-M, more firmly is much better. More firm, So, strongly manifested. At that time, it's called lump because its shape is like an iron spoon or an ant eggs. It's like the bell, the bell shape. Likewise, in the 7th week now, for 7th week, clasping wind, this name of wind, occurs in the mother's womb. When that wind touches the embryo, the 2 arms and 2 legs appear, from the body. At that time, there is a great suffering, as if a powerful man were pulling the limbs, and another person were whipping it with a stick. That kind of pain is there. That's why sometimes in the mothers, whom the child is kind of kicking, moving, because they have that kind of pain. Likewise, in the 11th week now, appearance of opening, this name of wind. Openings wind occurs in the mother's womb. When that wind touches the baby, the 9 opening appears. There are like 2 eyes, 2 ears, 2 nose, 2 lower openings, those 9. At that time, there is a great suffering, as if a finger were wrapping a new open wound. There are still more sufferings when the mother eats unbalanced food, such as something cold, like ice, very ice, like food cold. The baby will experience the suffering of the being thrown into ice water. Likewise, when the mother eats hot food or sour food and so forth, the baby will experience suffering, that hot or sour. If the mother eats a lot of food, the baby will experience the pain of between crush, the pain, he said, will experience the pain of the being crushed between rocks. When the mother eats little food, the baby will experience the suffering of being dangled in the sky. When the mother walks harshly or jumps or is beaten by a husband or anybody, then the baby experiences the suffering of rolling down from the mountain. When the mother has frequent sexual activities, the baby experiences the suffering of being whipped by thorns. So like they go through that. So therefore, when the child is conceived, the mother walk slowly, eat not too much, not too little, frequently, and good mind always with the compassion, keep all the ethics. Because when the mother's mind is depressed, strong, the child feels that, the mother is calm, peaceful, practicing like compassion, then child feels so peace, the baby, So important these educations and these informations are shared. Because when the child is born with proper ethics, discipline, very healthy child, mentally, physically. But the 37 week, now second last week, it will become conscious of the warmth that the child feels. The conscious, there's a feeling of something. What conscious? A feeling of the filthy or strange, very cramped, like no space to move. Have darkness and imprisonment. It's called 4 feelings there. It will feel so completely sad that it will wish to escape. Now I can't stay here. I want to get out of this. Then in the 38th week, flower gathering wind is name of wind, called flower gathering wind, will occur in the mother's womb. When that touches the baby, it shifts position. Before, the head is up, legs are down. Now shifts the head towards the birth, Position to that, it faces the mouth of the womb. At that time, there is a great suffering, as if caught in an iron machine. Thus, during the long period in the womb, mother's womb, the baby feels heat, as if being cooked in a very hot vessel, and is touched by the 28 different winds, you see. From being an oval shape until the completion of the whole body is developed by the essence of the mother's blood and food, so forth and so forth. Thus the entering the womb sutra says, first the oval shape will change into fleshy oblong. From the fleshy oblong comes the limp shape, and then limp becomes hard. By changing this solid shape, the head and 4 limbs appear. Then the bones grow and complete the body. This is all caused by karma. So the karma, is growing that way. After that, now the child It's now the baby is going to born. This facing downward. It's called the wind. Name of the wind. It's called facing downward wind will occur. When that touches the child, it will start to be born. Its two hands will stretch out. At that time, there is a great suffering, as if being drawn into a net of iron wires. Because of the sore pains, some will die in the mother's womb. They die with, they're born with the death. Sometimes the mother and the baby die together. Both shares so much pain at that moment. When the baby is born and falls onto the ground, it experiences such suffering, like being thrown on a heap of thorns, because in the mother womb is so soft. Now it's going out on the ground, it's on the cloth. It's so rough. It's all relative, Like if you are wearing always very soft cloth, and sometimes if you wear like woolen cloth, it's very rugged, So it's all relative, Like when it is washed, then there's a child, the baby is washed. There's such suffering, like having its skin pulled off, and then being scratched against a wall. That's why the child is born screaming, cries so much because of all those pain. And then sometimes nowadays in the hospital, we don't know their suffering is. We just lift up, and then just throw here and there. No conscious. So these informations are very important to give to the nurses, doctors. No, this is not just Buddhist. It's a sentient being suffering. Consider that now Gampopa is giving us, meditate, look at yourself. We don't remember. Because it's at the birth time, the suffering is so much, and because of that we forget a lot in the past. We are not born with it consciously. We are born with the suffering. There are some people, who are so depressed that they have no any awareness of what is going on, because the suffering is so dominated. You forget everything because of the pain you have. Look at this, So, Gampopa says, consider that long length of time, that kind of suffering and pain, and that kind of constriction in the mother's womb, constriction, darkness, filth. No matter how greedy a person is, if you asked him, to stay covered in an unclean pile for 3 days, in exchange for 3 ounces of gold, he would not agree. Yet the suffering in the womb is worse than that. So meditate. That's why I need to practice Dharma. Nobody can help me except the Dharma practice. So precious. It's not enough just being enjoy this life. It's selfish. Concentrate to yourself. Meditate on this. And develop compassion to all others who are going through this. And then you will appreciate the Dharma. Why Dharma is so precious. The letter of training says, inconceivable stench and filth, constriction, and darkness, these four suffering in the mother's womb. To enter the mother's womb is like a hell. One has to endure inconceivable suffering, no choice. Look at this. You should feel that, no? It's that kind of stuff. These are taught by just enlightened beings who can consciously see all what's going around. This is not, as I mentioned, this is not just Buddhist belief. This reality nature for all sentient beings. This is what's called suffering of birth. So if one realizes this, so if you can feel this, meditate, just feel it, aware it, then how can one think of enter into the mother's womb even once? That's why I must practice Dharma, because I have the precious human life. Every possibilities that I have now, I can't waste this time for nothing. No. Then you will really appreciate this. Why? No? When we need to study, we have to prepare for. So now, suffering of birth. Now, next, suffering of aging here. Briefly, there are 10 inconceivable suffering of aging. One's body changes. 1. One's hair changes. 2. One's skin changes. 3. One's complexion changes. 4. One's ability changes. 5. One's dignity changes. 6. One's accumulation of merit changes. 7. One's resistance to diseases or sickness changes. 8. One's mind changes. 8. 10. The passage of time bringing on one closer to death. Okay, thank you. See? So these are the 10 topics which will describe about the aging. Now look carefully. In the 80s, when I was in Washington, D.C., one little older woman who interested in Dharma meditation, so I thought she could really do more practice. So I explained some of this suffering of aging. She said, "This is depressing. I don't like to hear this." Since then, she didn't come. So after 5 or 6 years, I met her. Then she was really struggling, because I was very sincere. If she could practice that time, then she could handle the suffering of aging a little better. When you are young, healthy, you don't want to listen to this. This is depressing. I don't like this idea. Life is joyful, happy. But then when you really age, then you see how it's joyful or not joyful. No. See now, yeah. First, see, once body changes, means that once your body was stable when you're young, body is very stable, straight. Your back's all straight and firm, strong, and that it's then like playing ski, you see, so elegant. From very high mountain, jump, way down there, or skiing on the road. The boys and girls, you see, that kind of very elegant. Now, see, now here, when that changes to become crooked, your back is bent. And depend on a walking stick. See, look that. See, just briefly it's mentioned here that but you can understand more further about this. See, once hair changes means that once your hair was shiny, here's black. This in Asia now it's blonde hair, shiny, and then you have a lot of shiny, what are called things to make your hair better, and that it changes to gray hair. Now our hair become gray. Then we have to dye the hair, isn't it? Because of suffering. If there's no suffering, why you need to die? And become bald head. Your hair is lost. Some people plant the hair, isn't it? Have you seen that? I saw, Now still you're attached to hair, There are some monks now, they don't want to shave complete hair, Keep little hair to attach. This attachment, you see. And hair is such important for your beauty. You make the hair so different style, Hair, teeth, and the nail, these three. Very important. This hand hair, nail. And eyes. It's hair gray and baldness and so forth. Changing, see? From beautiful hair to bald head, gray hair. Look at this. You cannot accept, you don't want to accept that. Once skin changes means that once your skin was soft and smooth, like a Varanasi silk. In the ancient times, a Varanasi silk is supposed to be very soft. So soft. I think Tibetan lost that skill. Or fine Chinese silk, that it changes to become a thick, rough, a wrinkle, like a battered bangle. Then your face is wrinkled, and then all your hands are wrinkled, rough. You try to put some moisture to lose the wrinkle. Because it's a suffering, Look, you cannot accept. when you look at in the mirror, so you look at your face, wrinkles. Oh, I don't want to live, You scare yourself, Look at this. No, this is not individual's culture. The culture of all samsara, east, west, everywhere. No, see this. Once completion changes means that once it was bright like a newly opened lotus flower, and that it changes to become bluish and pale like a faded flower. When you are young, teenage, your complexion is so beautiful, bright, shiny. Now when we age, then it's all changed. Once ability change means that once you had capability and were eager to do anything. I can do it. I can work. So no, I will do this, that. Lot of energy, ability. No. When that changes, strength is lost, and you cannot undertake any effort. So I cannot do it. I cannot walk too far. I cannot sit down. Right down. If you do this little bit, you're exhausted, you're tired. Lost, and you cannot undertake any effort. By losing the strength of minds, you lose interest in any activities. Before you have a lot of projects, this. Then after some time, then you have lost interest of all the projects. By losing the power of senses, you can no longer project objects well. This means you cannot see easily, so you need glasses. You cannot hear easily, you need hearing aid. So forth this, and make mistake very easily. Sometimes you forget what you said. Once dignity changes means that once other people praised and respected you when you are young, then people praise you. Oh, you are so elegant. You are so talented. Please come here. There are a lot of people invite you here and there. When that changes, people look down on you, even if they were lower than you. When your age cannot walk well, then people just go around, don't pay attention, look down on you, even without any reason. So I think it's said here, without reason, people dislike you, and you are threatened by children. Here maybe not so much, and other I saw. And it was during my 3-year retreat in Ladakh. There's one village. So this old man, I think he was about close to 90. So he walks with a walking stick, just chanting the mantra. And they are 5 or 6, maybe 6, 7 years old. And they're throwing rocks on him, When he goes round, and the children, they laugh, and they go around this way and throw the rock from this way. And he tried to hit the stick. Of course, they're so faster, Before he keep the stick in the sky, there's already gone there. And then I thought, this is what suffering of aging. No. No reason. He didn't make any mistake. Just want to play, make him more miserable, suffering. And they don't realize how much suffering he has. So this giving teaches us to aware of all this, each and every individuals they are going through at the time of birth, at the time of aging. No? Look at this. Then develop compassion, you see. You practice Dharma. That time only Dharma can help us, nothing else. See? And you embarrass your children and grandchildren. And when you are so incapable, walking, sitting, and your children, their mind is embarrassing. They say, this is my father, this is my mother. But they can see, you know. And once accumulation of merit changes, means that all the wealth you have accumulated decreases. You work so hard when you're young. Now when you're retired, you get, now here is so good, so you get some retirement, isn't it? Otherwise, all you have collected is a decrease. No? You have no ability to collect and make any more money. See? You cannot maintain body heat and cannot experience the taste of food. You feel cold very easily. You feel hot very easily because the strength of the body is no longer. When you're young, you can go outside in the snow, you play, you know, throw the snow here and there. When you age, then like this, you see. And food, when you're young, you can taste the food so much, so well. No, because your elements are changing. Doesn't have much ability, so cannot taste the food. So sometimes you think, what's wrong? I can't taste my food as I used to. Say no. Especially if you want to eat what you do not have, it's difficult to find someone who will provide it for you. Then one's resistance to disease changes, means that you are striking by the sickness or disease very easily. When you are old, you get flu, for example, get flu very easily. A lot of different pains in your body, your back, shoulder, your knees, no, very easily. And of all age, which is the worst disease because it draws all the other sickness and you suffer. And all the aging is a type of disease that cannot cure. We try to keep young, isn't it? Get rid of the wrinkles and dye the hair as a mission. All this try, but basically, physical itself, you cannot make younger. There's no medicine. So sometimes you see now that you can see in the clinic, there's use anti-aging clinics, there are so many there. And people try so much, So I feel much better, says, But in reality, you cannot. If there's anti-aging, they should have anti-death. There's no anti-death, isn't it? Why not? If there's anti-aging, there's anti-death, should be there. Since that is not possible, how it is possible to have anti-aging? One's mind changes means that you immediately forgot whatever you say or do and are confused. When you're aging, basically we forget very easily because our life there's so much stress or excitement or down. Because of this, between all this, makes our mind very vulnerable. Cannot comprehend, cannot stabilize. Especially on the age, then we forget very easily what you said, what you do. Sometimes when you rush, you are getting late for your work, and even though your keys in your hand, and you come to the door and you forgot your keys in the hand, and looking key, where I kept my key, Like these things, you see, it's a sign of aging. So now what should we do? So Dharma practice. There's this reminding Dharma. There's no other solution. So that's why the Buddha said, should know the suffering. Now, this one thing, you see, if you don't have Dharma, no solution for how to comprehend or how to cope with that, if there's no wisdom, no method, then it's, yes, right, it's good to put aside. Don't reflect on this suffering. You see? But since we have Dharma teaching, which will give us complete kind of wisdom how to relate to these things. That's why it's important to bring up. And then use Dharma in your mind. Then you age more beautifully. You age with the dignity. You age with the beauty. For this purpose, no insurance will give us this, no any medications will give us this, if we have practiced Dharma. The passage of time brings one closer to death, means that the breath becomes short and labored, and you are closer to death, as all the compound form deteriorates. See, generally, as everything is impermanent, we don't know when death will come. We never know, but death is definitely closer. No. So that time you see, look at this, do meditation. First look at the impermanence of all phenomena. Then look at the suffering of this aging. Miller ever said, if you don't realize an aging nature, the aging has an inconceivable suffering. Then there's no alternative. There's no other choice. Only just we have to go through. That's why I practice bodhicitta. No? avoid all the non-virtue and practice the virtue. And then you feel comfortable yourself. You accept who you are. Because when you are aging, we don't accept who I am. I'm not accepting who I am, you know. That's why I try to make all these things. Thus the noble, profound representation sutra says, aging causes beauty to turn ugly. No, it's the aging which turns us into ugly. Age takes away dignity and ability. The aging. Old age robs away happiness and causes suffering. Old age causes death and takes away your complexions, beauty. See? Look at this. And then you can develop such a strong compassion to all sentient beings. No? This is the why, no? When you know more nature of the suffering, then there's a greater chance to develop compassion because you have the wisdom. Why we need to develop compassion? So this, just brief about the suffering of aging. There are limitless suffering of sickness, but briefly there are 7. Suffering of great pain is very clear. When you have a headache, when your stomach ache, a pain on the back, shoulder, anywhere. We lost all our ability to do anything. Suffering of harsh operations, you see. If you have no pain, no sickness, nobody would like to operate. But then when you have desperate, then you have to operate. How much cost? How much pain? Fear is there. Operation. So the operation, so looks at it, that time also exists. This book is written in the 11th century, you know. Suffering of hot or bitter medication. The medicines are not delicious, isn't it? There are some are very hot, or some are so bitter, you know. Some are disgusting. But you have to take it because you're supposed to. It's good for you. So look at this. So those who are sick, you just develop such a strong compassion. Suffering of being stopped from eating and drinking what one likes. Now when you have different types of sickness, disease, they'll say you are not allowed to eat this, you are not allowed to drink this, what you used to enjoy. So now we lost the enjoyment. There's many people you can see. Suffering of pleasing doctors, then you have to please the doctor. Even doctor call you, you say, oh yes, yes, oh yes, thank you so much, thank you so much. Even you paid all this cost, still you have to say thank you, you are so kind, you know. Well, you are sick, you know, you are not well. You have a lot of pain. Still you have to say, you are so thank you, kind, It's very difficult, you see. And suffering of decreasing wealth, said you have to pay all the cost for the medicines, for the doctors, And the suffering of fear of death, said this sickness may cause me death. I may die. Who knows? The lot of fear. Then you jump to every doctor you see, you hear, you ask, which doctor is best? The noble, profound representation sutra says, tortured by the suffering of 100 disease means 100 means not just 100. It's many saying. It's not instead of 100. It's many. We say hundreds of people. You say like that. Hundreds of disease and of contracting them. It's like being a hungry spirit during a human life. So look at this. So, of course, when you get sick, there's a pain. But if you have Dharma practice, there's a lot of mental exercise. May my sickness be kind of all authority to purify all my karma, negative karma. May my suffering, the pain, has all ability to purify all the suffering of the sentient beings. Mentally, those practice, exercise. When you are having pain, suffering, mentally you can have stable mind, clear mind. When you age, the suffering of the aging that I have may substitute all the suffering of the other people's aging. Meditate. So this way you develop compassion. You develop, bodhicitta. Then if you could do more practice like this in permanence, look at this, then it's not real. Then illusory nature, possibly. They realize understanding of emptiness, like these things. That will give you such great comfort in the midst of all this suffering. So for this purpose you are practicing Dharma. As I mentioned, it's not just a religion. You have to look, when you study Dharma, for the solution of the problem. Solution to the problem, there are some you can replace, some you cannot replace, but you can accept. Accept the problem. That's another solution. When you know how to accept well, and it's a very important solution. This Dharma will give you that great wisdom, strength, how to accept and how to replace. See. You want to have a short break? Yeah, 15 minutes, please.